So these are the stock tires and wheels that come with the TRX4m. I have gone ahead and removed this one, and there are no foam inserts on these tires, but the rubber is actually quite hard and stiff. That's how they get away with it. Versus these are very, very soft. You're not going to be able to get away with not running foams in these for that reason. So this is the brand of the wheels, actually tires, everything. Now, right here, so I'm gonna go ahead and tilt this vehicle. Now I want you to see these little parts of the wheel, or the tire, sorry, I apologize, right here. So if you see this, I'm shaking up the truck on purpose. I mean, I can do it by hand. That's because the rubber is so hard. Now, let me flip the vehicle, and I've already placed some here. Now notice the difference. This one does not have foams. This one has a foam in it. So that's the same as running on a flat tire. So if we were to set the board down, and actually if we just take a look at the side view right here, see, it looks like a flat tire. And I don't know how many people go crawling with flat tires. And no, it's not going to work, and the reason why is, let's look at the side view. So I'm going to do the same thing, and I will tilt this. So that's what's happening to your tire, right? Which is not good, if you can see that angle. So you will be needing foams on this versus on the stock Traxxas tires. You do not need foams. So that's one of the things that we're going to do with this modification. Now, I'm going to remove this one right here. Use the little tool. I need a driver that's this small. I think I have one somewhere. So, I will be removing this one, but there's one little note. I wish these tires were a smaller diameter. Oh, actually, before I remove it, so let me do one more thing. So the body's actually quite heavy. This is something I actually just thought about. So let me go ahead and weigh the body. Now, I do not know how much the Bronco body weighs. I'm sure the Bronco body is slightly lighter, but this one's 162 grams. 162 grams is actually quite heavy. Well, it depends on what you compare it to. If you compare it to TRX4, the Bronco body, then it's super light. But if you compare it to a touring car body or a USGT body, this body is really heavy. But this is what I'm gonna do. I'm just going to put the body on. Notice the tire, and that's just the body. Notice how flat it went compared to the one with foam. Now, like I said, the Traxxas tires, the stock ones, they're really hard, so they don't really care. Now, there is one advantage, though, to this, and that is if you go full steering, because these wheels have a different offset, they will never rub. So a lot of people complain about binding. The tire rubs here on this arm. That's what happens. So if we go here, the tire will end up rubbing right in there. You can't really see because of the light, but right there, the arm right in there. You can solve that easily. Just get different offset wheels or get some wider hexes. That's it. You just need to push the tire out. And to be honest, it looks a lot better. So if we do the camera view right on top, I mean, that looks way better with the tire sticking out. The only thing is that as the suspension articulates, let's see, so you can go about that high. I would have to measure it to give you an actual measurement. The point is, on this one, it's gonna hit, actually that goes pretty high as well. That articulates quite well, but it will rub a lot sooner. So now I'm gonna remove the body and do those tires. All right, so I need to remove this one, and then I'm gonna show you how to mount them. This one has a foam without the cuts. This one's already cut up, but I'm gonna build one, so it doesn't matter. And I'm gonna show you all three of them removed, just so you can see the difference between the new ones and why you want foams in them. If you're running this type of tire, again, the tires and the wheels are the same brand. Here we go. These are made for 1/18 scale, but a little slightly larger. That's what the wheels look like. So let's go ahead and remove, oh, not yet. So let's build this one. So the one that I left on, that one's already good. So you actually have to grab the wheel by the rim. Don't grab it by this little brass weight because that will spin. So you have the option to keep the brass or remove the brass. I will be keeping the brass and then weighing everything on the corner weights. And then I'll just take them apart and do it again if I have to. But as of now, there is more weight toward the rear of the vehicle. So it might be a good idea actually to not run that brass weight in the rear. Actually, I will do that. So let's see. So I have to do these. Well, I'm gonna have to do them all. So it does not matter. But right now these are cut up. Now these are directional, so you have to make sure which way you mount it, because this is not going to have brass and I want this to be the rear tire. I will go ahead and mount this here. So foam, you want to cut it up, just cut little bits and pieces just like this. And then once you do, well, before, you can use scissors like this, but I do not recommend them. And the reason why, I have a piece of foam here, sometimes when you're cutting, they will do that. They will sort of, as the scissors coming in and cutting, it will sort of open up and it will not cut the foam correctly. You can use just one of these flat razors, those work, but they're annoying. Body scissors, these are the best way to go. So when these cut, it's just a nice straight cut. So I would just use these body scissors. But here we go. So grab these and then you're gonna put this in here. And here, one second, let me just put the camera down. All right, so the foam, just fold it, stick it in here, and then just rotate this. I'm running my thumb, and that's it. Should be nice. Now, a quick little thing about these wheels. So notice on the wheel, notice this little lip on the rim here. That's where the rubber will go. And then you will notice the same thing over here. So the rubber's going to go in there. Now this direction, that's forward of the vehicle, so this pattern has to be pointing that way. Now, you just grab this wheel, and this would just sit in here. And there's actually a mark on the wheel, see that? So the rim of the wheel will sit right here on the bead of the tire, in there. Not on the outside, but on this inner part. And that's where it locks. To be honest, I think I'm going to go ahead and put the brass on. But before I do, I'll go ahead and weigh one brass. That way, once I put on the corner scales, tell how much I have. All right, so each one is 13. I'll go with 13. So this will be 13 grams. Oh, no, that's not it. Oh, it's right here. All right, so slide the ring. So this weight will go in there, and make sure the tire's on the outside, because now you see that little rim right there on the brass? That's where the rubber of the tire is going to go in. So we're gonna pull this over. That needs to sit right along there. So I will go ahead and separate it just so you can see that? So rubber will sit right in there. So that ring is a larger diameter so that this can slide in. Let's see, orientation. All right, so pointing that way. Face of the wheel is on the outside. And again, remember the bead goes in here. Now, bead locks, be careful when you are mounting them. So now I'm going to grab the ring. And this is where you have to be careful, because it's once you press this one, the rubber has to slide in there. Let's see if I can get some light. See, just like that. So So first I'm going to try to line up these holes. Here. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and grab a screw. So the heads are 1.5, they use a 1.5 millimeter driver. I'll press this one in. It's not lined up correctly, probably, there we go. And it's not all the way, and that is on purpose. And I will show you why in a bit. Show you now, but it's a lot easier if I insert the opposite side. All right, and it's not all the way in. So just pull the rubber, and that was the reason why. So this one's set on this side, and this one is set on this side. So I can go ahead and put all the rings and then just go around tightening them. That's generally how you would do it on a vehicle. Then I would go here, there, there. But these are so small, it's not going to make that much difference, to be honest. But let me go ahead and grab them. Now it does come with new hexes, but I'm going to be using the brass hexes all just for the little bit extra weight, not much. Okay? It will give it more offset, so it should look even better with the offset of the wheels. Maybe. Okay, those are extra pins. And now it's very important that you correct the offset issue with the vehicle, and the reason why is you're going to put more strain on the drivetrain, such as the shafts, and then you're going to be breaking little tiny pins in there that are holding them. So that is the reason why. But let's go ahead and set this one. And do not go all the way until you have them all. Oops. And do not lose them either. There we go. And the next one. And snug is all you need. Do not over tighten. You don't want to over tighten for a variety of reasons. One, you can destroy the rubber right here on the bead. The other thing too is you can always cross thread the brass, or you could potentially break the heads off of the screws. So nothing that you want to do. I'm not sure which one's worse, to be honest. I don't want to find out. And that's it. So that's what the tire looks like. So again, now this is set. So this one has nothing. This one has a little. So I'm going to do a little side view right now. And here we go. So if I use just the weight of the motor, oops, look how flat this thing goes. Versus this one. And if you actually look closely, the contact patch is pretty good. It's probably about four of these little things are contacting. Now the full foam, let's look at the full foam. Full foam, we're getting about three of them are in full contact. So you do get a little better contact just by cutting up the foam. And that is something that is actually well known with crawlers. A lot of people do that, not just with crawlers, they do it with, you know, buggy, short course, etc., just to get a slightly softer tire. But you still keep, so let me do this, you still keep, see, no foam, side to side stability. Compared to no foam. no foam, cut, full. So that's the difference between them. Right, so this one's already cut, that one can go in the rear. These I have to work on. But that is for tires. So let me just finish them up, I'll put them on, and we'll be right back. All right, so just for fun, my goal is to add about 26 grams to each one of the front sides. Now, it doesn't matter, I could use either scale, it's just easier this way. So that's about 10.5. Adding these will add a total of about 15. And adding these will add approximately 16. So based on this, I know that I should probably not install those rear weights. If I do install the rear weights, it is going to give me a very nice front and rear bias. Sorry, low center of gravity, but it's going to throw off my front and rear bias, which will make the rear end heavier. So that's something I'm going to decide in a bit. Right now, I'm just going to assemble everything, and then at the end, I'm going to decide whether or not to keep those rings. All right, so to remove these parts and replace them with the brass ones, so that's the right, so this is labeled R for right, and the other one has an L for lovely. Wait, no, that's not it. And these are universal, so they're left or right, so we have that. It's just a few simple screws. So we have this one right here. Oops. Here we go. And just keep track of all the screws. Now, when I weighed these, I gave an approximate weight about how much weight I was going to add, but I'm going to take into account the weight of plastic. So if you minus about 10%, you're going to be close, because brass is about 10 times heavier. So this frees it up from this part. I did not buy this in brass. There's a reason why, and I'll explain that maybe in some other video. Just in general, when it comes to weight, I just don't want weight so far forward from the center of the axle. That is the reason why. Now, I am keeping the bushings, but this is the perfect time to add ball bearings if you want ball bearings. The reason why I'm keeping the brass bushings is because brass is rust proof. It does not rust. Why? Because it's not ferrous. All right, here we go. So this whole component comes out. I'm gonna have to build all of that in there. But first, I need to replace this. So there's 2 screws in here. And here we go. And here's the other one. So again, if you're planning on going with bearings, this is the time to do it. And there it is. So now all I have to do is just push the bushing out, and I'll just stick my driver here, and I'll push this out, and that is it. So very light part compared to this one. Now, you see the brand is printed, so we'll put this up top, just to keep the brand logo on top as well. But I will need to put this brass bushing in here. And when you press it in, you need to make sure that it's going in relatively flat. It didn't give me any new bushings, but I am going to have to use a different method. There we go. So it'll press in. So that's pressed in, everything is good. I'll go ahead and put this in here, and because I'm going into plastic, I will not worry about thread lock. Now, usually screws, whenever they're torqued properly, thread lock is not really needed unless there's a lot of vibration. But if you're going into plastic, you do not need thread lock. It's similar to if you think of nylon bushings or nylon nuts. Same idea. Here we go. And snug is all you need. Do not over tighten these because you will strip the plastic. Let's go to the other one. Alright, just a And a little more. All right. And that is it. So we have our first brass component, and the other side will be the exact same. So once we do one, we'll know how to do the other one. So I'm only going to be doing one, and I need these little bushings right here. So these metal bushings, or these other bushings, they might be aluminum. Make sure that you put these on. They look like little tiny hats. These will just slide on right here. And the reason why you want these is if you do not use those, you run the risk of binding. And that is something you do not want. Here we go. Now there are new screws that come in the kit. So let me go ahead and just slide this in. And the new screws, actually I like these better, but do these not fit? I'm gonna try these and see if they do not fit. They seem to be going in. Maybe not, maybe because of that bushing they do not, but let me try it. Ah, so you do need the other screws. So these are, I'll have to place these off to the side and save them. Let me lay this flat. Right, so here is the hardware, and I will be using thread lock for these. And you want just a small amount, not too much. That's really all you need. And that's installed. This moves. And we'll go with the other one. And if the screw doesn't want to go in, don't force it, because you're just going to end up cross-threading everything. And again. Okay, well, that's better. Alright, and I will add some thread lock to this, since this will now be going into brass instead of plastic. So let's go ahead and do this. I forgot something. All right. I'm sure one of you already pointed it out. So I forgot to put this in there. All right, so this will just pull out. Let's see. Pretty sure. Yep, there we go. Okay, so we have two brass components. It's the one on the inside that is the problem. All right, so here we go. Let's try pushing this one out. There's enough of a lip, and there we go. So this is what I forgot, so I need to slide this in. I will have to remove this. Fun stuff. This is the best part, doing things twice. Just helps you remember what you did wrong. To be honest, if I had taken that apart first and then just laid out the pieces, this wouldn't have happened. So that's another recommendation. All right, let's go ahead and push this. So again, if you're going with ball bearings, this is the time to install them. All right. And let's go ahead and stick this in here. Feel free to add a lubricant in there if you want, since it's already disassembled. Shaft is going to go in. You will have to spin the shaft to make sure it lines up. There we go. That falls in. Perfect. And this will go in there. Oops. Let's do the top. Now, brass is a great material and a great choice for a variety of reasons. Steel is a lot stronger, but steel will rust, so you have to paint it. You can always go with stainless steel, I guess that would always be an option. The problem, though, is that stainless steel is much harder to machine than brass. Brass is a softer metal. I mean, brass is softer than steel as well. That's something to keep in mind. And brass is slightly denser as well. That's the other reason. So now, go ahead and install this. There we go. Perfect. There we go. I should really be doing this with the vehicle on. You can destroy servos this way. And now I get to use the pin. Are they the same? They are the same. I can just reuse the old one. And I'm going to go with these brass bits. A little more weight, minimal, maybe a gram between the two. But the main thing is the offset. It'll push my wheels even farther out. If you're using the stock wheels, I would just use that. And I'm going to go ahead and put one of the stock wheels on, just so you can see. Great. There it is. Just so you can see the difference. And this is where needle nose pliers would come into play. There we go. And perfect. Right there. That looks great. So if we put the Traxxas wheel on, you will notice, I guess I could turn this on. Let me plug this in. Oops. All right. I know the nut's not on, but I don't think the camera is picking it up because of the light, but it no longer rubs. So the issue, I'm gonna go slow, really slow. So again, it's the tire rubs on this. That is the issue. So if we do that and then go really, really slow, there is no rubbing. It's not even close. Camera's not really picking it up, but it's not even close. Compared to the stock one, which I will hold it this way, put the wheel on. Well, let's see. Let's go ahead and turn. Once you start running, I don't know if it's picking it up where it rubs. So it rubs right in there. And then once you put some pressure on this tire and it deforms, it'll start rubbing right in here when you're doing a full turn. So that's what causes the binding in the TRX4. So again, not a big deal. It's, I mean, some people give it bad reviews just for that, but it's an easy fix. And I know, this probably should have been designed a little different. But again, this is a beautiful vehicle. It's not that big of a deal. You can actually just add a washer and it would be fine. Probably all it needs. All right, so let's see, that's the wrong one. And this is the correct one. All right, so I'll put the correct wheel and then I will tighten it and I'll show you the steering. And that's it. So the other thing that you're going to notice is that's going to seat flush versus over here, oh, there we go. See, it kind of comes out. Over here, it's going to be flush. And you want it to be no less than flush, because then the nylon and the nut's not grabbing properly and they can come loose. But this is it. So let me show you the steering. This looks so cool. All right, there we go. See, a lot of space now. So this is not going to bind. That's pretty much it. But you do get a wider track now. So it just depends on where you use it, when you use it. So I'm gonna finish everything up and then I'll be right back. So before installing this, one of the things that I should have done is remove these links. With the wheels off, I could have removed the shocks as well, and the shocks would have removed the links here, because I need to turn this over. Because I am going to change the differential cover, only the front one. So in order to do that, I'll have to remove these. So this will give me a little more flexibility. So we'll go ahead and put this here. I'll go ahead and take this one as well. And again, if you were doing ball bearings, this would be the time to do it because you're taking this apart anyway. So that is something to keep in mind. If you do buy the Traxxas ball bearings, they're about $40. If you bought them from this brand, they're about half the price. Alright, so remove that. Alright, that's the pin for the shaft. Alright, perfect. So now, I think I can manage to flex this in every way to access the screws, but the challenge is I want to be on camera. I can't see. There we go. Alright, so it's the bottom screw. Almost. Let's keep going. And here we go. Is it? So I need this little brass plate. Normally you put the thread compound in this on the screw threads. I'm going to put it here. I'll put just a small amount. You don't want to fill in the hole because then the liquid inside will actually stop the screw from going in, which is why you generally put it on the screw, not on the hole. So this is generally a bad idea. There we go. Snug is all you need. Do not over tighten anything. Here's the cover. Very, very light cover. All right. So now I can go ahead and put this back on. And that is it as far as all the brass pieces. I could add the brass hexes in the rear, but I don't want to. It might be a good idea though. Just add a little more width to the rear. But I'm gonna try it out the way it is now before I add stuff. So something with brass, you don't wanna go wild and crazy. This part, they do make this part out of brass as well. The reason why I'm not interested in that component at this time, and I probably won't be, if I am, maybe I'll make a video or I'll show it when I'm running it after I've been running it for a while. But the reason why is this is weight in front of the center line of the axle. Just like that is weight, this is weight. But this part, if this were uniform, this would balance this part. The wheel, right, this, assuming the ring is, the mass is distributed evenly on the actual ring that is inside, and then the wheel here, whatever point of mass here, there's a corresponding opposite side which will balance it as far as torque. So here, if this is torquing the wheel this way, this side is torquing it this way, which is the opposite direction. So they're balancing each other out. There's nothing to balance this except for the rear, but this vehicle is already rear heavy, so there's going to be mass over there. Now, when we talk about center of gravity, this is the center point of the axle. So this is balanced with this. So the center is right in here. It's in the fulcrum. Here as well, right in there. But the steering linkage here, this is above that center line. Not much, but it is above. That's the reason why. Although it's still a lot lower than what the center of the line of the vehicle would be. Given how heavy that body is, the center of mass is probably, if I had to guess, it's probably somewhere around here. So it's still lower than the center of gravity, but it's not that much lower. But it could make a difference, so we'll see. Maybe I'll purchase that component at some point and then test it out just for fun, and then see how it does. Where's the arm? There it is. So all I have to do now is just attach these, and then after that, I'll put the body on, put this on the scales, and we'll see how we did. So I'll just put this back together and I'll catch you shortly. All right, weight distribution is something that's important. So here, everything's zeroed on the corner, scales, and we're gonna go ahead and check this out. Now, it does have a frontward bias compared to a rearward bias. Keep in mind the body is not on. So right now it's heavier in the front, so that's 55% versus 45, whereas out of the box, the bias is toward the rear. But this is without a body. Now we're gonna go ahead and add the body, and if you look at the body, I mean, it's clear that if we draw a line here, most of the mass is over here. And this body's pretty heavy. So if we look at this, the total weight is 545 grams. And if we add the body, let's see. Yep, that's clipped on properly. We're now over 700 grams. So we're 707, almost 708. Now, if we look at the percentage, we're very close to 50-50. This is the reason why I decided to go with the brass in the locations that I did. But if you look at this, the mass difference between the front and the rear is about 20 grams. So it's not bad. It's actually quite even front and rear. So it's really just a matter of driving it now. And the reason why is, I'm gonna use only one of these scales. If I add this is about just under 11 grams. If I were to add these, I would get the 11. So I'm gonna see the way this handles, but that's the reason why I chose not to go with this plate. Now, keep in mind that adding more weight to the vehicle, if you just add a bunch of weight just for kicks and giggles, if you're on loose dirt, this is just going to sink in and you're gonna get stuck. This vehicle is pretty heavy compared to the way it was, stock, mainly because of the wheels. So there's a balance between weight that you want to do. If there's not enough weight down low, this thing will definitely topple over. If you're going up a hill, for example, you'll want to flip over, especially with all the weight back here. That's why you need the weight in the front. Because if you think about it, this is the pivot point. So this is the fulcrum right here. This is where it's going to rotate if you're going uphill. So you have all of this mass in front of this fulcrum. And that's what you need, because this, through gravity, right? Gravity has acceleration, this has a mass times acceleration, that's the force. And there's a lever right here, right? If you think of this distance, therefore you have torque. Force times lever arm. You have a torque that's being applied. So you'll be able to climb higher, versus if you have less mass, there's less torque here compared to the torque over here. That's the reason why. So the mass here is important for going uphill, and this vehicle is light in the front out of the box. Now let's reverse it. Let's say we're going downhill. If we're going downhill, the wheel, let's just say you do not add mass, this may want to topple over, and the reason why is because you've made it heavier. That is why I did not want this to be brass, because now it would have more mass in front. This is creating a torque going this way. Yes, my center of gravity is low, you're right, but that's only if I'm going side to side or uphill. If I'm going uphill, this makes sense. Brass over here might make sense. I don't know if they make brass bumpers, but on the TRX4, they make a lot of brass components. People go with brass up here. That's a really bad idea. If you're going uphill all the time, then yes, this works, because the mass is in front of this fulcrum. But if you're going downhill, this is now producing a torque that's making your vehicle go this way, spin, and move this way. That's why I did not want that piece. This one, yes, this one's in front, but it's not that far from the center, and it'll probably do a lot more good going uphill compared to the weight over here. So it's mainly to counteract that. So where you add the weight is very important. Now the mass on the wheel doesn't matter, assuming it's all uniform. Why? Because if I'm going downhill, this is in front of this, but this is behind it. Therefore, these two forces are counteracting each other. They're neutral. They're zeroing out because they're opposite and equal. Right? This is torquing this way. This one's torquing that way, but they're the same. So all of the mass here on the wheel, on the rear, this is making everything go down. And if the center mass is over here, it's behind this. So all of this extra weight, even this little mock spare, is torquing everything down. That's the reason why. Right? If we're going uphill, now this is neutral. This, everything here is producing a torque this way. Want to make the vehicle flip over. Center of mass is probably somewhere over here, based on the numbers that we saw here, right? Because it was almost 50-50 between the axles. So it's probably somewhere around there. And then all of this weight is in front of this axle, all of this weight here. And if you remember originally, this was a lot heavier in the rear. So all of this weight up front will make it easier for this to climb up. And if it's on a perfectly flat surface, well, it won't matter. The only thing that will happen is it's gonna sink if it's loose dirt. Now let's just say we go side to side. Side to side, that's where mass matters as well. So here, mass in the center is not really going to make much of a difference, right? Because it's so close. If you think of the torque, so this is halfway. Let's just say everything was concentrated right smack in the center and everything was concentrated right smack in the center here. If you were to take 5 grams here, that would give you the same effect as 2.5 over here, because it's a linear relationship. Therefore, if you had the choice to put 10 grams here, because that piece was about 10 grams, versus 10 grams over here, the ring inside is about 13 grams. But let's assume it was 10 and 10, this one would have twice the effect. So the ring out here, you can have a 10 gram ring, which will give you the same effect as a 20 gram ring here, which means that you would have half the mass. And maybe you don't want that because you're not thinking of the side to side, you're thinking of the uphill and downhill, and that also makes sense. So you have to see how you're going to trail. Now if you're going uphill and you're sort of going at an angle, all of this is going to play a role. So it's better to have the mass as far out as possible, such as these. These are the best. If you had to choose between getting these or the rings, go with these. Why? Because it's mass that is farther out, but it's not rotating mass. Now that I've mentioned rotating mass, there's something called inertia. Having heavier wheels has its downside, and the downside is it's slower accelerating. So it's going to be a lot slower when it comes to acceleration because of the inertia. And it's going to be slower in changing the direction of motion, which means that going from stop to picking up speed, it'll be slower. But then once you're at speed and you want to slow down, now whatever that speed is, it doesn't matter. Maybe it's 1 kilometer per hour, right? Or a mile per hour, if you want to go a little faster. The point is slowing down because of the added inertia. It's going to stop slower as well, so it's going to be more difficult. And inertia it's the square of the distance of the radius. So the farther out, so if you have two wheels that are exactly the same mass, but one of them has the mass farther out, that one's going to have more inertia compared to a wheel that has the mass farther in. Same thing, you can have a larger wheel with less mass that potentially has more inertia, could have the same or more, it just depends on the amount of mass, compared to a smaller wheel. And in real cars, you really notice the difference quick when you have a vehicle that came out of the factory with, say, 17, 18-inch wheels, and then you swap them out for, let's just say, 22. There's a huge difference in acceleration and stopping at that point. But for now, this is the truck. One of the things to note is the rear. You are going to rub. Well, let's see. Once it's crawling, maybe, well, let's engage it just for fun. I need to take the body off. There it is. I was reaching in the wrong place. Let's see this thing. Look, lights. Wish it had rear lights as well, but it only has the front ones. All right. So this thing does crawl back a little. Let's see it go. It does rub, but not too big of a deal. But it does rub. I have to check the suspension. I want to know why it's leaning. That is interesting. Let me go the other way. So it's leaning toward the other side. I don't know if it's the way I set it, maybe. Oh, you know what? That's normal. It's because of the torque. The drive line, I checked the drive line. The drive line must be spinning this way. So the drive line, okay. So what's happening is this thing is leaning this way, just like this. If I had to take a bet, the drive line's spinning left. Right, so the axle goes left. Let's check it out. Yep. Let's see, so this is spinning this way, which makes the axle go that way. But this thing, that's what's going on. Well, I'll have to figure out how to fix that, because that is what is happening right now. So just so you can see, this is pretty normal. The way this spins this way, and it's pushing the axle this way as it spins because of the rotation of the shaft. And that's what causes the wheel to rub lightly. So we'll see how it does out on the field. Worst thing, we'll go back to the stock wheels. So you can see how it lifts on this side. I'm gonna go with larger incline. Yep, no friction. 3 wheels. That's what's gonna happen. Let's see if you can see. See, that's what happens. But this is usually pretty high. All right. Now, just for fun, I'm gonna crawl it in reverse. Ooh, that was a lot faster than I thought. Oh, wow. It doesn't have the power. Oh, there we go. Actually, wow. Alright, that was a little too much. But you can see the effect of the weight. This is insane. This is awesome. Let's see, tires grip. And the motor gets stuck, doesn't have the power. Alright, actually, wow. This is pretty crazy. And that's how you overheat your motor. Let's go reverse just for fun. Actually, I'm pretty satisfied right now, given that this isn't really a crawling surface. It's not even carpet or anything. So I'm actually quite satisfied. I hope this was informative or at least entertaining. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you have not, and I'll catch you in the next one.
What? Oh, my hair! My tongue! My rod!